All right, let's do this. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Mad Mamluks. My name's Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Sheikh Amir.
Assalamu alaikum.
And Mort.
Hi. Shalom. Shalom alaikum.
I learned a new word. Hayya bina.
Hey,
Let's
Abina.
go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Exclamation
You
mark.
just say Hayya bina.
Hey, Abina. Exclamation mark.
That
bro.
reminds me of like the cartoons, because you know saying the cartoons like, "Hi, Bina."
Yeah, all the time.
Does that work? Though?
If you watch Ninja Turtles, yeah. Ninja Turtles, Batman, all the stuff
Captain
in Arabic.
Majid.
Captain Majid. All of that, you'll say, hey, Abina, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. That's how they say it.
It's like, "Let's go." You know, kind of like that thing, like, you know.
It's good to see you guys again. Good to see you, Morty. It's been a while. I
I
feel
wish I
like.
could say the same about you,
Yeah.
but
Sim, forget about Morty. Good to see you.
Good seeing you.
I
Sure.
got him. Zinger. Lots of good stuff to talk about.
Too much to talk about.
Yeah, like, I mean,
So much happened, dude.
we're gonna let Sim kick that off, but I mean, just to preface this, like we were talking about this last week, and I was thinking about this when we were getting started to do the show. You know how we were saying like there's so much going on that it's kind of hard to not like think that something imminent is coming. Like there's so many little signs, like things that are happening, and it feels like it's just no letting up. Like every day, like just you just go on to Google and see what else is popping up, and it's like this is crazy.
It's insane times, man. Who would have thought like most of the major universities in the United States are protesting for Palestine? They're chanting things that are Islamic and or not even necessarily purely Islamic, but things that along that line. Like they had that spirit, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what the crazy part about this is that that this is the new generation.
Yeah.
Like the way I see this is, yeah, I may not agree with, like, I understand that a lot of these protests are being mixed with a lot of people who are foreign, like who have other ulterior motives, including like, you know, some of those
Pro-Russian people.
yeah, people who are just mad at America, right?
Yeah, Marxists.
They're
all
using
that.
this, call them whatever you want,
Yeah.
but people who are just angry at the government, right? They're using this to also join in, right? But regardless of that, it's just interesting to me to see that like this old guard is like dying off. Like in another 10, 15 years, 20 years, these old like hardcore Zionist evangelicals are going to die off, right? It's already, I mean, evangelicalism is dying on America. I read some study where it said something like, some poll where like 1 out of every 4 Christians in America don't believe Jesus is God, right? Which is pretty crazy, right? So that shows you that evangelicalism is fizzling out. And when it fizzles out in like the major society, and then you have this young generation that's totally doesn't care about biblical prophecies, is all about social justice, all about bringing rights to like, you know, people and oppressed people. That's the new generation.
Yeah.
Along with all the other stuff that we don't like, you know, they're coming up. But the fact is that their mentality, these are the people that are going to be voting in America, the people that are going to be holding office in America, the people that are going to be deciding foreign policy in America. And that looks radically different in 50 years, 40, 50 years.
So, dude, what you just mentioned is, look, there's this bending of reality that's happening, right? So when you talked about the evangelicals, the crazy thing that happens with people like this, the religious groups, especially with the Christians now, we see that they're getting less and less in number. And there's a select few on the top that are getting more and more powerful monetarily. So they have the deception as if they think that they feel like they're getting more and more powerful, but in reality, they're going to fall harder and harder, right? So it's like this thing that's moving in the direction for these select few, the number gets less and less, and they feel like they're getting more and more powerful, and they fall really hard. The other bending of reality that happened when we were talking 10 to 15 years ago about this generation that's so entitled, they just come to work whenever they want. They don't want to go to work. They're not really into keeping a job. They really don't care about that. It's like about their truth. But whoever knew that was going to take place, or that was going to come into effect in full force, of where you could take away their degrees, you can arrest them. They don't care because they're actually like We're just going to do whatever we want to do. Who cares? We don't stand up. We don't care about anybody or anything. The whole system is corrupt. We don't care about ramifications, right? So what are you actually going to do to them? That's the crazy thing. You can't actually do anything to them. That's where the mindset comes about, where you actually can't do anything to them because they're not allowing it to affect them.
So you know, I want to get Sim's take on this, but just really quickly, I was listening to something. I usually don't listen to news, but with everything going on right now, for those of you that don't have YouTube TV, on YouTube TV, they have this function where you can have like all 4 news channels on one screen.
Yeah.
So you can kind of just see all of them, and like it's a 4-panel thing. So I'm just, one is Fox News, one is MSNBC, one is BBC, one is CNN. So on the MSNBC, they had this Indian-looking guy talking about, I think it's a Hindu guy, talking about movements and protests in the history of America. And he mentioned a really interesting point. He said, doesn't matter whether these college kids are right or wrong. Right? But usually protests in a country, they may have, in the short term, they may be going about it the wrong way, but 9 out of 10 times, in the long run, they were onto something that was right. Usually the people that were at the protests, they usually end up being more on the right side of things.
Especially university protests.
Right. But he said even in spite of that, he said, you can label it and call them, because people are trying to compare this to like January 6th and all that kind of stuff, right? So he was saying you can label them what you want to label them, Hamas supporters, this, that. But at the core of it, you need to understand what inspires these people. Not romanticize it, but understand what their gripe is, because underlying, it's not just about Hamas and Palestine. There's a lot of built up, pent up anger and resentment, whether it be people even on January 6th, or, for example, why certain white people feel like they have to vote for Donald Trump, right? There's some truth to their experience, and in order to be able to engage that, you have to know what it is. So at the core of it, you can just dismiss it as crazy young kids doing whatever, but there's something there. There's something that they see that you don't see, and usually kids in this age, they're willing, yes, they're a bit overzealous, but they're willing to risk a lot more because they're naive to what they're losing, right? A lot of these kids don't realize that they may be blackballing themselves from a career. They may be losing entire academic, they don't see it right now, but you're more bold when you're younger. So they feel so passionate. Something has to be inspiring people, whether it's this protest, whether it's BLM, whether it's January 6th. Something at the core is motivating them and pushing them forward. So in order to understand how to combat any movement or come up with counter arguments, you have to understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And here I think it's very clear that Americans, a lot of young Americans, are just plain upset at the way things are. Not just the foreign policy. They're upset about school loans. They're upset about inflation. They're upset about opportunity, broken families, high drug use. This is a culmination of just pent up anger and resentment. Yeah. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that Allah creates the field, like levels the playing field for something to change.
Of course. And examples within it. Leveling the playing field is very, very important. I don't know if you guys saw the documentary I sent you about Flint, Michigan. Now, imagine I'm watching all this stuff on Palestine. I'm watching all this stuff on India. All this stuff is happening. Still, new news coming and emerging about China and the Uyghurs, even though people have been talking about them for a long time. And all of a sudden, I just happened to stumble upon this. 2 days ago, there was a Flint, Michigan water contamination thing released. Hour and 43 minutes, something. And the media had played such a beautiful game, meaning evil in the evil sense, where people thought everything was fine. It actually is worse than it was before. But everyone thought everything was okay, right? And I started thinking about, wow, like if you aid something, Allah shows you examples of what you're controlling here. Like they're complaining about their water. It sounds exactly like Palestine to me, what people of Flint are going through with their water. Yeah. Like all the deformities, all the mental conditions that they're having, all the physical skin, all this lead poisoning, bro. They're having crazy amounts of depression, suicide, all this stuff. And the pipes that they were supposed to use for money to get this special reservoir of water didn't use it, and they just started covering up and thought people were going to forget about it, and 10 years later it comes back and it's even worse than it was before. In the United States of America, bro.
What you're seeing effectively is over the past few years, everyone's been introduced to new terms like gaslighting and stuff like that, and now people are really able to put it together, like really see something happening unfold in front of their eyes, and then the narrative is the official narrative, the government narrative, the mainstream media narrative is this: oh, you're remembering it incorrectly. It's Hamas who started this. Like, wait. Well, we know Hamas didn't start this on October 11th. It's October 7th. This has been happening over the course of almost 75 years, over 100 years maybe. But they're seeing all these different terms and all these what we were all kind of joking about were like woke terms, terminology, and we're like, oh well, I mean, and there was some sort of maturation process that happens where people are excessively applying things, and it's still going to happen, no doubt. People are going to use these terms incorrectly and apply it in things that doesn't actually give it the proper context for the word. But you're effectively have a much more educated a college student, a university student who is now aware and is able to see, like, hey, wait, what you're saying here is completely bogus, because I'm seeing this right in front of my eyes. I'm seeing it all over my social media. I'm seeing it with my naked eyes, what you guys are doing. Like popular podcasters, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, everyone. Heck, Matt Walsh now. Did you just see Matt Walsh? He came out with an anti-Israel. He's with the Daily Wire under Ben Shapiro. And he came out with
Alex Jones.
Yeah, let me just share this real quick.
But Matt Walsh, to do that, because
he's one of their bread and butters.
So and obviously he survives off. That's his primary income, right? But he's also very much a patriot. Right? He's a soldier, ex-soldier, right? So he's very much a patriot. Oh, American foreign policy, reinforced values. We have partners. I mean, he follows that trend. For someone like him to be able to say, "Wait a minute, this is too much," it's very, very telling.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing right now is, wrong button. Here you go. At first I thought this can't be, this might be a parody account or something. So I'm like really carefully looking at Matt Walsh blog. Okay. Because he's effectively criticizing this notion or this bill that the Republicans are actually trying to pass that would criminalize any kind of criticism against the Israeli government. So his tweet says, the vast majority of Republicans has voted for a bill to criminalize criticisms of the Israeli government. If the bill passes, you will be guilty of hate speech if you apply double standards to the government of Israel or accuse it of genocide. This is honestly one of the most insane pieces of legislation I've ever seen. So here are some of the bullet points of it right below it in a graphic. Denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation. This is insane.
Wow.
Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, claims, i.e., claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel, to characterize Israel or Israelis, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis.
So if I want to say Zion-Nazi, that would be criminalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy to me is that I first of all, I don't think that would last. I think they would take it to the Supreme Court and it would be challenged everywhere. But let's say it does, just the very idea of it, right? What they don't realize is that just like the Patriot Act ended up making their lives more difficult and was used against them, this will be used against you too in the future. If you can set a precedent and say, listen, you can't speak certain things about a certain group of people, you create a protected class of people and say they can't be criticized at all, and you could determine what is criticism, by the way, right? Acceptable criticism. That means tomorrow, if the Democrats get into power and they decide, you know what, if you talk about abortion and say you want to, you support it, you're against abortion, that's criminal speech because you are trying to take the rights of people, a marginalized group of women.
Yeah.
And that's criminal hate speech.
But more, look how dangerous this is and how stupid this is. Number one, they're doing exactly what the left did with controlled speech with LGBTQ. That they're basically doing on just for Israel. That's all it is. It's basically the same notion.
But the different thing is, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The difference though is that the right prides itself on freedom of speech and expression. That's you tell me I can't say Islamophobia. You say I can't criticize the Muslims. It's all Islamophobia. Like they were crying about it.
No, but and this is this is actually even more crazy. Is who cares if an American criticizes another government? Who cares if America criticizes Saudi Arabia? Who cares if they criticize Oman? Who cares if they criticize Zimbabwe? You're going to penalize somebody for criticizing Israel? That's a different country? So this lets you know that they're so desperate and they're so weak right now. They're showing everything of how weak they are right now and how they actually feel inside.
I think if they do this, Sim, I think everyone should just be, every Muslim, every person who disagrees with Israel should just continually talk about it. What are they going to do, arrest millions of people?
Fundamentally, what always appealed to me about Republican rhetoric, even though I'm not a Republican nor do I ever assign myself with any kind of label like that, but there was a characteristic among their party that being an American, you don't have these excuses for not being able to succeed, not having, not using your crutches from things or from oppression that has happened to your home countries back home. You're your own person in this country. You build yourself up with your own character, with your own merit, and you establish yourself, right?
Yeah.
And there's this one underlying they have that pull yourself up by the bootstrap mentality, which kind of goes too far, but they have this characteristic where you don't victimize yourself with things that you didn't actually experience.
Yeah.
Other people may have experienced it, but you don't use other people's experiences for your own benefit. And what this is effectively doing is just taking away that one quality of being American, where you don't use these different crutches.
But it's the opposite here. It's even worse over here because they're taking another government that you can't criticize and is throwing it on the Americans.
Yeah.
Instead of Israeli that's traveling to America and saying Israel was rough and I'm going to have a hard time here, but I'm going to make my own life. America would say, like you would say, the Republicans would say, hey, don't worry about what happened to Israel. You're here in America. This is a different place.
Yeah.
What they're actually doing is taking the Israeli government rhetoric and throwing it on the Americans and say, hey, don't talk about these people or you're going to go to jail. This is
and what's crazy to me is that was one thing that I felt in America that we had that was far better than Europe.
Yeah.
I could say, screw Zionism.
Yeah.
Screw Israel. I can even question the Holocaust if I want to. That was something fundamental to American freedom of speech.
Yeah.
They literally allowed you to say and question everything. And that also worked in a negative way, right? Meaning that they can say and do whatever they want about Islam and Muslims too, right? But it allowed also for me to criticize and ask questions that I felt were pertinent and important. But what this sets also forward is that things like, well, can you question the 9/11 narrative? Are they going to criminalize that? Are they going to criminalize talking about, for example, certain things like, hey, you know what? The U.S. Liberty, when Israel attacked that back in the 50s, whatever. Can we talk about that?
Or this is the problem where everyone has to come to this. It's a human thing. If you don't have Islam and if you're not about truth, it depends how many people know about the truth. 9/11 thing, it was just a conspiracy thing for a while, but more and more people, let's just say 50% of Americans believe it was an inside job and they're really going to do something. They protest about it. That's when they're going to start criminalizing about it. Israel, people could talk about it. They can do whatever they want. But once people start believing and taking action, that humanness is going to kick in, democracy goes out the window, and the selected few that are in power have to protect their assets and protect themselves, and then be like, yo, we got to stop this now because we're in jeopardy and our allies are in jeopardy.
So the biggest failure in all of this is that it just goes to show that all these wars and ideas that America is pushing out there, saying we're bringing these values, we are democratic, they're embody these freedoms of speech and expression, all of that is just nonsense.
They hate our way of life.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with hating your way of life. You're in the freaking countries, bro. Right. That's why they hate you. But they're killing their innocence. That's why they hate you.
What I'm saying, though, is that they were
The values that they were trying to instill.
They were claiming that they wanted to bring freedom of speech in Saudi Arabia, freedom of expression to the women of Saudi Arabia, freedom of expression to people of Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's freedom of speech, and to change your religion and to question everything, right, and to criticize your government and all these wonderful things, right? I can't even forget about criticizing my government now. I can't criticize a different government.
Yeah. So all of that normalization, all of that, and the freedoms, all of that was just for normalization of ties, and it all comes back to money, bro. That's all it is. Nothing else.
So Candace responds to or retweets Matt Walsh.
First name basis?
Yeah, we're friends.
Sister Candace.
Sister Candace. Ukhti Candace.
I mean.
When are Christians going to wake up? First, professing that Christ is king during Easter week is anti-Semitic. Now, the true story of Christ's death is deemed anti-Semitic.
Referring to the Jews killing Jesus.
Christians are being told that acknowledging our doctrine or history is a form of anti-Semitism. Yeah, so you're seeing some kind of internal struggle within Christianity, or at least American Christianity for the most part, where people are like, wait, they're just changing our history and saying that anything that you say related to Jewish involvement with Jesus is considered anti-Semitic.
Bro, since you said that, even on a secular level, Islam succeeds. Islam is still the winner here. And on a religious level, Islam still succeeds. Over here, because of their government, and they're tying to quote unquote being a Christian country, and people having that inclination toward Christianity, everything here that's happening with Israel goes against. She's totally right. Yeah. She doesn't have a safe place to be a pure Christian anymore. She can't believe true Christianity anymore.
Yeah,
Islam comes on top, bro, even on a secular level.
So what I'm curious about, though, is
the truth, bro. It's all about the truth.
Rabbi Unholy Schmoly, when he says Jesus was a Jew and he died for you, right? And he can make that narrative, and we Jews are dying for you. Is that also going to be, illegal speech, right? Doesn't that fit into the trope of anti-Semitism now?
It's everything.
By this definition? I mean, I think what the biggest problem is, it's effectively saying that, forget about Israel now. It's effectively saying, and this is more concerning to me, it's a precedence. Anything that we deem is not appropriate for public consumption now becomes something that we can effectively ban. We can say that because of X, Y, and Z, a group, a movement, a national security, we don't like what you're saying, and we're going to ban it. And I'm saying, where is the limit for this now? Can it be about, right now, yes, Republicans and pro-Israelis, you're in power right now. But what happens when a radical left group comes in and says, you know what, if you want to talk about, traditional family values, that's very hurtful for women. That's hate speech. Women are free now. We're going to criminalize that speech. Or if a radical right comes and says, you know what, if you ever mention anything about a different religion in this country, that's breaking the underlying culture of this country, and that's not acceptable.
That's true.
We're going to ban it. So if you want to you can't talk about Buddhism, Hinduism, and you know what? The Protestants don't like the Catholics. Catholics, keep your mouth shut. This is not America was a Protestant country, right? So where do you stop this?
No, what we're seeing is effectively that it's going beyond that, where Zionists are being able to be violent. What we saw yesterday, I don't know how many of you
at
guys
UCLA?
Saw what happened at UCLA, but it's documented without a doubt, zero shred of any ambiguity around that the Zionists were the ones behind breaking the barrier and attacking the Palestinian protesters. And here we go.
It happens in Palestine. Now it happens
here. They are breaking the barrier.
By the way, there's an old woman there, and there's police officers telling them not to do it.
Sorry the language, guys. Sorry about the language.
NPC, no place in this world. Fuck you. Fuck you. Why are you out here by yourself?
Look at that. They attacked him.
Hey, stop!
Hey, stop it, guys. Stop it, guys. Stop attacking the pro-Palestinian protester.
They can do whatever they want in Palestine, Israel. They do whatever they want over here, man.
Free Palestine!
You hear they're throwing fireworks into the pro-Palestinian crowd? Here we go, another.
Oh, great. Here comes the cloud. Oh, great. Here comes the cloud.
So, without a doubt, no ambiguity about it. There's no doubt about it. The Zionists instigated it. They threw fireworks into the crowd. They broke down the barriers. But no repercussions for them. Imagine if that was the pro-Palestinian crowd. It would be all over the news.
Well, they're saying it now. They're saying that these students at universities protesting, it's Hamas that's staging this, right? I saw it on Fox News.
Yeah.
They said, another Hamas protest, another Hamas cell protests at what is that?
They're staging the counter.
Fordham University in New York, right? It started there. And here's my thing. So Hamas is under all this stuff in Palestine and in tunnels, but yet somehow they can transmit frequencies to people outside in America to go ahead and start protesting.
No, even
but here, hold on. Before we get there, is this. It's not visible in these clips here, but these people are walking around with yellow flags saying Messiah, like Messiah, right? The Jewish Messiah. Imagine if Muslims were walking around saying Khilafah with a flag and doing that. Would that be allowed? Would that be? They would say, "Oh my God, they're bringing their Muslimic stuff in the country. Look at they're bringing." But yet these flags don't mean anything. Why? Because it's acceptable. They're Jews. You can't call them anything. Saying that's not allowed is anti-Semitic. You're not allowed to say it.
Yeah.
You can't criticize them.
Yeah. So look, they're protected over there and they're protected over here. It's because of America. But look, the other deception that a few people talked about, not many people are talking about, is it's just said so easily. Look, it's pro-Hamas. It has nothing to do with pro-Hamas. A lot of these people don't even care about Hamas. They care. A lot of people care about their money that's going and funding these wars. These boycotts are actually working, and a lot of these corporations are losing so much money. And these people actually feel, and they should rightfully, that this is my money that's going and helping, killing innocent children, innocent women, innocent human beings, in the name of freedom, and with my own wealth, and my country's wealth, and they have a right to do whatever they want to control that, right? So the rhetoric of calling them pro-Hamas is not just unfair, it's just pure evil. Because you're actually making them feel uncomfortable and making them into liars, so something they have a right to talk about. So it's all one-sided overseas, and it's one-sided over here. It's going to continue to be like that. And that's why I told you guys, I was like, look, this is everything is going in the direction of the end of times, talking about Israel, talking about Palestine, Masjid al-Aqsa, Muslims divided, and, the end of time. I can't see it any other way, man. It's we're not saying that this is the war, this the end of times, but it's too obvious now. The whole world is focusing on Palestine and Israel. The whole world.
Yeah.
They're having a hard time distracting people from it, right? One of the distractions is making it one-sided by calling all of these protesters pro-Hamas, which is factually incorrect, right? So they're trying to make it into something else. They do their deception. That's how they always do, man.
Now check this out. Long predicted, this is from CNBC. Long predicted consumer pullback finally hits restaurants like Starbucks, KFC, and McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Starbucks, Pizza Hut, KFC are among the chains that have reported same-store sales decline this quarter. McDonald's said it's adopting a street fighting mentality to create value to win over customers. So what they're not saying here is that the boycotts are really affecting them all across the world. All across the world, it's not. I mean, it's not just the United States. There's obviously pro-Palestinian supporters who are boycotting here in the United States, but it's a worldwide phenomenon where people are how come all the other restaurants are doing well? Think about that. You know,
You're right.
I mean, there's a whitewashing in this article that's happening that is unbelievable. Where they're refusing to talk about the boycotts affecting these mega companies that have reach all around the world, and people have organized themselves and concerted their efforts to boycott these and avoid these restaurants. How come Burger King's not here? Burger
That's
King's
true.
pretty big, but it's not as international of a company as.
I'm trying to find
you know?
the thing that I sent you guys about the exact points and falling of Starbucks' shares, but I'll pull it up eventually. But yeah, you're right, dude. It's it's a good thing that the boycotts were focused on a few different companies, and they're really feeling the hurt. They're understanding the hurt. They know what it is, and this is just something really small. This is just something to give a feeling of, hey, you don't control the narrative completely, right? Now, someone could say, oh, well, this is not going to solve the problem. We're not saying this will solve the problem. What this is going to do is let people understand that the world is changing. That's it. And change, if these corporations hate change because they love the way things are going. When they start taking a hit monetarily, everyone else starts to follow suit and they start having some type of fear. And look, the reality is some people have to have a certain type of fear, bro.
Oh, it says right here in the article. Outliers like, outliers like Wingstop and Chipotle Mexican Grill show that customers will still order their favorite fast foods, even if they're more expensive than they were a year ago.
Yep.
So the article's completely contradicting itself. One attitude is saying that, or at least a bullet point is saying that it's McDonald's is taking on this street fighting mentality to fight or to create better prices and fight with its competitors for better prices.
Mm-hmm.
But the other is saying that Chipotle and Wingstop haven't changed their prices and they're doing fine. It says it right there. How contradictory is it?
You know, one thing I'm realizing about all this, man, is like, you know, like in the 90s when people would talk and we would talk about, like, you know, the issues with Muslims in Israel and Muslims in Palestine and Israel and the conflict and how the game is rigged against the Palestinians and eventually against the truth and foreign policy, and like all those things they're not as far-fetched anymore. They're all real now.
Yeah.
The conspiracies that people used to talk about, they're all, like I said this in the beginning of this conflict, Muslims knew all along what was happening.
Yeah.
The difference now is everybody knows it. It's out in the open and no one can deny it. You know, in high quality, in HD, everything is seen now. The other thing that I think that is, as far as the college campuses are concerned, is there's many changes, even in history, which started from college campuses. But again, even Muslims are saying, hey, this is not solving any problem because these people are ruining their futures, right? Even on Breaking Points, Sagar was saying that him and Crystal got in an argument. They actually got in a debate where Sagar was like, well, these people are just going to ruin their futures. And at the end, nothing's actually going to come out of this. And I'm thinking to myself, and Crystal was kind of like, she was there, but there was an argument. It's like, okay, what's the point of you reporting all this? Why are you reporting this? Why are you a reporter?
Yeah.
Like, if you think nothing's going to change. It's like, nothing's going to change. We know it. It's all happened in the past. You know, they're just going to ruin their grades. They're not going to be able to get jobs in the future and all. And Crystal's like, well, they believe in something. They can't be stopped. That's a beautiful thing. And they feel like they have to talk to power. And this dude's a journalist.
Yeah.
Journalists are supposed to be able to talk to power and sacrifice their lives. Like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, I didn't see that, but it doesn't seem like Sagar thought this through.
He didn't think it through at all.
Yeah.
The Daciness kicked in on him. The Daci part kicked in. Job guys, that's all that is, bro. Deep-rooted concepts always come out, bro. When you don't prepare, dude. That's how I thought about it. He started coming Daci, shaking his head and everything.
No, but believe it or not, it's not just him.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Kevin O'Leary,
I heard Muslims say
this show was saying, forget Muslims. Kevin O'Leary was saying basically, look, I hired thousands of people. He's openly threatening, saying, I'm going to use AI technology. I'm going to go on the deep, dark web. And there's people I can pay that will take even smaller scans, iris scans, and be able to identify who these individuals are. And we're going to put them in a pile where they'll never get hired.
Oh.
And they're basically threatening people. And You're going to have no job. You're going to be blackballed your whole life. But I'm saying, even as him issuing a threat, what it tells me is that they're deathly afraid.
Yeah.
You'd go to the extent as a billionaire to admit publicly going on the dark web, which is a criminal offense, by the way. Like, I mean, to put people's information on there and then use a service that's going to give you private information. It's not sanctioned, right? But it shows you that you're willing to go to that extent.
Yep.
For dumb, foolish college students in your head, in your mind. Dumb
Why?
and
The
foolish.
question is why.
But hold on. The thing is this, though. What they're forgetting is that these are the same people who are younger than you. They will outlive you. They will go on to form corporations. They will hire their own. You're not. Look, with these people, it's a glimpse into their mind. They think that they did everything. That their risk, their power, everything is by their doing. Allah didn't give it to them. So they think that they have power over everything. But Allah could make one of those kids into a multi-billionaire tomorrow, and He could hire every one of those people in a job.
Yeah, you're right.
And what would you do then?
Yeah.
You just made a threat you couldn't make good on.
Yeah.
You're acting like you have control over something when Allah demonstrates to you a week ago that a small little earthquake can send you into shambles.
You're right. You're right.
Oh, an eclipse can make you lose about... I mean, you know what they said? They said that they lost about $40 million worth of hydroelectric funds from Canada because of during the eclipse. They lost the solar radiation hours. Something small like that. Wow. For people, how long did it last? An hour or two? Right? And that's what... And I'm saying, you just forgot. Allah sent tornadoes. He sent earthquakes. He sent all these things to give you wake-up calls, and you still think you have power to decide who ends up rich, who ends up alive, dead, poor. You think that.
That's how you know if someone's a tyrant and not a tyrant. That's how you know that people who are deathly afraid of their responsibility and are overly gentle to their constituents and the people that they're responsible for is because they know that there's a hisab. They know that Allah can flip anything in any direction however He wants. But the people who are tyrannical, they just want to keep going and keep going. They forget about all the signs. They keep going and keep oppressing and that's where they lose themselves and that's where they destroy themselves. But the reality of a true leader is somebody who actually is deathly afraid of their responsibility, but stomachs it and takes the responsibility, but becomes extremely humble, and everybody that they're responsible for, they treat much better than themselves. And they make sure everybody around them is much living better in a situation they themselves are, right? That's a sign of a true leader. But the next question is, and as events change this narrative little by little in the past 6 months, and it's crazy how much has changed in the past 7 months, now, why is there such a focus?
So, one thing I want to just say real quick, because there's tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people all across the country who are displaying some sort of compassion for Palestinians, okay, for and against the Israeli genocide. What they're doing is effectively creating, by going after some people's jobs here and there, they're creating a climate of fear.
Yeah,
they want people to be scared. Like, do you want this to happen to you? How are you going to pay your bills? You know, but the fact is that there's no way they could actually enforce that level of fear that they're trying to project, that or the level of influence that they actually have. There's just too many people who support Palestine. And what people like Sagar are people who are scared. They're people who have debt, and he's kind of, in a sense, emblematic of the scared typical person. You think about Chicago, right? Chicago, outside of Michigan, it has the largest population of Palestinians in the country.
It is the largest.
Is it the largest?
Michigan has the largest Arab population. But Chicago is the largest concentration of Palestinians anywhere in the world outside of Palestine.
Bro. I didn't know that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Minus Jordan, Amman.
Okay.
Amman has, but I mean, outside in the Western world. Yeah, Chicago.
And so I've been to quite a few of these protests. I hardly see any Palestinians. I mean, not that you can really tell, but you see majority of normal, like white American. What do you mean by normal? Sorry, let me correct my
White
phrase.
Caucasians.
White Caucasian,
Anglo-Saxon.
Anglo-Saxon, Irish-looking people. I don't know how else you want to.
Scandinavian, German, yeah.
They don't look like our peeps.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how else, if there's any delicate way to put this, but they just don't. Okay, it's not. And I'm not saying there's all that many brown people as well. They're just not. It's majority, like non-Muslim. You know, and it shows you that, first of all, our people are scared as hell to do anything. They're like, oh, well, you know, there's a white man's business. They have that privilege to do that. Well, not us. We're not going to stick our neck on the line. That pisses me off. And it says something about you and where you're going to be at. But, you know, there are people who, and I'm not saying if you don't protest, you haven't done anything. There are many.
It's a statistic.
There's a sizable minority of people who don't go to protest, but they do other things. Right, they do a lot of other things that further the cause, right? But there are a bunch of people who are scared to do anything.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm trying to say.
No, but not. It gives you look. There's a lot of people that believe that you should be going to protest, but they don't go. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that believe that's one of the best ways. But if you just look at the spectrum of the type of human beings that are there, in as far as you know, a percentage wise, why are Muslims such a small, or why are colored folks such a small percentage? That's something that we need to think about, right? And a lot of it comes by culturing. Now, this is a culturing issue as far as Muslims is concerned. Is when you, and Allah reward our parents and the previous generation, but when you tell people that they don't have a value unless if they have education, the ramifications show its head in situations like this is because you're not going to risk your education or money for something like this because it's just Palestine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Palestine, but my money is and that's where risk and tawakkul on Allah is very, very important. No one can do anything to your risk. Everything's already been written for you when you're in your mother's womb, before you were even, right when you were a soul, and it was, and the soul was blown into the fetus, right? There's nothing you can do or change anything about that.
Yeah.
You should obviously go towards those things that are halal and not go towards haram, monetary gains, obviously. But the main thing is this. Now, as far as the college campuses are concerned, some of the people on the far right and even the right are saying that, this immigration problem and all this crisis happening, and you're able to send the National Guard and you're able to send in the Army and special operations to these college campuses to break everything up, and they're marching, and some of those dudes look pretty intimidating, right?
Yeah.
And you could use those same dudes elsewhere, right? But there's a reason why they don't do that, obviously, right? And I want you guys to shed some light on that. Is why is it that when it comes to college campuses, for college students that are protesting, something that's factually very, very important of where our money is going, and let them voice themselves because they're keeping it contained within the college campus. Why are you using that National Guard and these buff, personnel? And why can't you use
Bro, they have snipers pointing their rifles at these protesters.
What is up with that?
Mind blowing.
Why can't they do that on the border? Why?
That's a whole nother can of
It
worms.
is.
But
It is.
You think about it. You see, they're threatening people with their careers. They're threatening them with their education. They're threatening them with their life, but effectively by pointing guns at them, and they're not stopping. So what do they do next? They start passing or attempting to pass bills, trying to make it anti-Semitic to be, or trying to make it against the law to be anti-Semitic, or what.
So do you think this is going to stop people, or is it going to make more people?
No, everyone's seeing it, and I think what's happening now is the tables are turning, or have already turned for Israel. I think they're just deluded into actually seeing the reality for what it actually is. Is that people are not on your side anymore, buddy. They don't believe in your BS. They see through this fake ceasefire deal that you've offered Hamas, where you're saying that, we're going to give you 45 days of peace in exchange for all the hostages, and then we're going to go back to bombing the hell out of you. Why the hell would they accept that? You You know, it's the stupidest ceasefire ever.
It is.
Why would you?
But do you ever feel that the narrative, because Israel is putting in, and America is putting in so much rhetoric on the other side too, do you ever think where it almost comes to almost like one day they're getting in, one day they're getting more popularity? Do you think it works kind of like that, or do you think that it's overwhelmingly anti Israel foreign policy of what's happening in Israel? If you want to say the bombing campaign, anti-bombing campaign of Israel, anti-genocide.
It depends on the demographic.
Yeah.
So what studies have shown, at least recently, a poll came out that majority of Americans that do support Israel are people who are cable news watchers.
I see.
Who are those? Older people, boomers, elderly people who still watch Fox News, CNN, etc.
Not only that, it depends on how the question is framed. Do you support Israel or Hamas? Right? And then they can come out and say, oh, look, people overwhelmingly support Israel. But if you say, do you support Palestine or Israel or IDF or civilians, the number changes. Right? Big part of polling is how you present the data. And that's the biggest thing. But here's what's really interesting to me. People say things are not working. Nothing's happening. Blah, 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 blah. Right? But think about this. Yeah, after this point, we're going to take a quick break and go pray real quick. So just wrap it up here. But 10 years ago, when Palestine wanted to be a state, like 10 countries vetoed against it. Today, the only country that voted against Palestine is America. So even if every single American is still pro-Israeli, the world is definitely changing. There were, I think, a couple abstained. The rest of the countries, European countries, overwhelmingly voted in favor of Palestine being recognized as a state. So when that tells you, what does that tell you? That means America is alienating its trusted allies for Israel.
Yeah.
So when they tell you that we're doing it because we have allyship with Israel and it's Western narrative and values, you're literally alienating your Western allies in favor of genocidal animals.
Yeah.
Think about that for a moment. America never had to worry about being... It looks so negatively in optics that America is the only hand up saying no to Palestine. These are moments that people will reflect back on, like those key moments in history. Like, what a crazy time where... It's kind of like a time where like, when America didn't accept European Jews.
Yeah.
They look back at it like, oh my God, like how could we do that? Right? Like American Jews didn't want European Jews in America. And then they figured out what was happening, like, oh, we have to bring them here. Right? But it's going to be one of those moments, right? Like you're literally the only country stopping Palestine from becoming a state. And that people would say, well, why a state? What does it matter? They're people. By becoming a state, it's no longer a territory, an occupied territory, and Israel can't get away doing what it does. It can't get away controlling its borders, its water, its air, its anything. Palestine can assemble a military. It can defend itself.
Airport.
Everything. Right? It means everything for them. Recognition. Bank deals. People, if Israel were to put a sanction or block a port, that would be an act of war. Right now, the territory, it can't be an act of war.
Yeah.
But
I'm not trying to be nihilistic or a pessimist, but at least in this time and in the near future, that's something that's impossible for Israel to allow and America to allow to happen for Palestine.
It doesn't matter what they feel, though.
I understand, but I said everybody sees that.
I'll give you
everybody sees that.
But I'm saying, Amar, let's understand this. This is what I'm trying to get you to see. This is the exact point I'm trying to get you to see. It doesn't matter what you feel, what you can and can't do.
I agree with you.
What matters is that pressure matters.
Yeah.
And the work that's happening in the world, you can pressure them no matter how much they don't want to.
What I'm saying is, because this Israel and America made up their mind, the world can see what their opinion is, and how long can they sustain this charge against the world?
So they can sustain it forever. They can do that. But what happens is you become a less viable partner in the world for other countries.
Yes. No.
You end up diminishing your power. So what happens is, effectively, what we're saying is America crumbles to its knees to the death of it to support Israel. Supporting Israel would be what ultimately leads to the collapsing of American empire.
Yeah, and no, that's why people see this with their International Criminal Court warranting an arrest or threatening to warrant an arrest for Netanyahu, and America doing everything they can to stop this. But what does that even mean anymore?
So I think that's what I'm trying to say. Americans need to think about, and that they're realizing that, listen, if we support Israel, before it made sense, allies wanted it, we all agreed on it. Now you're the sole dog, you're the last idiot holding the flag. Like, you're the last, like that one guy who could never believe that my friend would do. But he wouldn't do that. But he loves me, bro. Yeah, sure. Take my kids. Take my 401k. Take my savings. I trust you with my money. No way. Yeah, no way ever. And people are telling him, hey, look, bro, this guy robbed me 8 times. This guy, he's talking crap about you behind your back. And you still give him the money. Like, that's America right now. There's this idiot that thinks, no way, Israel would never harm us. They're a trusted partner. We love them. They love us. We're shared values. Or Christian Jesus, whatever, all the stuff. Anything to hold on. Hold on to this crazy, like, coalition.
Narcissist.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying, I think Americans are realizing that if you hold on to it, it'll be the end of you. And when we come back from Maghreb, I'm going to talk about something that's going to be the end of something in Israel, too.
Inshallah.
All right, we'll be right back. After these messages, we'll be right back. You watching
588-2300 Empire.
Wow, Morty. Thank you, Morty, for ordering.
Don't understood that one.
Are we muted right now?
No, hang on.
So you can do.
Welcome, Ahlan wa welcome. We're back.
We back.
MashaAllah, I led the salah effectively and concisely.
Even though
Sheikh, do you ever do requests for like surahs
No, I don't.
when you read when you lead?
No.
Is that
that's
okay?
the biggest blunder you could. What if you don't remember the surah? Then you're screwed.
Well,
You're like setting up a failure.
MashaAllah, our Sheikh
It just seems
knows
too much like
lot
a.
of
It just
Quran.
seems like something is borrowed too much from like the music industry.
Yeah, I mean it's not a DJ station.
Like I dedicate.
We're
this
like,
song
Sheikh,
to-
you know, today I'm feeling kind of lovey. Can you recite Surah Rahman for me today?
Bro, when we were young, the uncles at IFS did that all the time. Because
who
some of
would
the whenever Sheikh Taqi would come, they would ask him, "Can you really like how you recite Surah Rahman, please, please?"
Oh, wow! I didn't know that.
They do request, bro. I'm surprised Sheikh doesn't do.
I've
it.
never heard that before, but I would probably look at them very strange. Like, what is the jukebox?
Exactly. Kind of corny. Just let him do his thing, bro.
Why is it corny? I mean, it's like it's a Quran.
It is, but let him do his thing, bro.
No, but the thing is that the imam reciting is probably reciting something that he's.
Sometimes there's a surah that you're feeling like you're connecting with at that
Yeah.
time.
So what if the other guy next to you, I don't like that surah. I want the other surah.
I don't like
It doesn't connect with them? Does he have another? He's not taking a request from everyone. He just says, "Hey,
But that's the whole thing. Like, who
Sam,
determines what request gets
Sam,
prioritized?
how are you feeling today? Like maybe I'm like the guest over there at the mosque, and the sheikh says, "Hey, can I recite a surah for you?"
Yeah,
Is that okay?
I don't know. I think if you want to do that, then let him stay after salah and just have him recite to you after salah.
I don't know. You're no fun.
You're no fun. He's not colorful enough for you, Sam.
No, I think the reason why I am saying that because I lead salah a lot, and I would never want someone to request something from me. Like, it's annoying. Like, dude, go back. Like, you know, go to the back. You don't belong
I
here.
don't know. I feel like it would be complimentary. They're like your recitation, and they're requesting a specific surah to be recited by your voice.
Can you imagine Sim running up to the Haram Imam going, "Hey, can you just do Zilzala?"
Zilzala. Zilzala.
Why would I request that surah?
I don't know. I just thought about
It's
it.
just so funny when he says Zilzala.
That's not how I talk, by the way. But
No, not you. He just saying, you know,
No, not you.
American Muslims would talk
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Anyways. Hey, three of us one time.
Welcome back.
You were talking about
Yeah, so I mean, just real quickly. So
Another
people
uncovering?
don't realize that I personally believe this, that this will be the end of the Likud party in Israel, right? Right now, people don't realize. I mean, it's granted a lot of Muslims and even me, I'm like a novice in this, but I try to keep up with Israeli politics, right, just to see what's happening. For people that don't know, Netanyahu, his party is the Likud party, okay? It didn't have enough to win the election. They had to make coalitions because they have a parliamentary system. It's not like America where, you know, you're one party, you get the electoral college and you win, that's it. Your party wins the presidency, executive office. They need to have a certain amount of votes in parliament, seats, in order to make a government, right, to have power. So Netanyahu needed, I think he only had like 30 seats. You need something like 100-something seats to do it, right? So he has a coalition. So his party isn't super popular, but what they've done is they've made concessions. And what they've done is the ultra-right in Israel has said, listen, we don't want to be drafted into the wars. Because their thought is that conservative, ultra-Orthodox, all the kids should be doing is studying Torah on the yeshiva. That's all they should be doing. So Netanyahu tells them, great, no problem. Support me and I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, they formed a coalition. They have enough seats. They formed a coalition together. Now, his opponent, Benny Gantz, who is still a Zionist, everything, but he is even more. He doesn't believe that Orthodox should get an excuse. Because he's a military guy. He's saying, nope, you guys should be also fighting just like everybody else is. Anyway, they didn't make a coalition with him. That was his opposition, by the way. They made it with Netanyahu because Netanyahu made that guarantee. And so prior to this war happening, Netanyahu was about to release, just push this judicial overhaul. And people in Israel are unhappy with that. A lot of liberals pulled their money. We talked about this. They pulled their money out, whatever. And then the war breaks out, and now he needs to have a war cabinet, right, within the parliament. So he has to get Benny Gantz also on there. Now what's happening is that Benny Gantz is saying, listen, I'll be it, but we got to get these Orthodox to go to war.
To enlist, yeah.
Yeah, to fight, to draft, and do their service. Netanyahu's making concessions to him, saying, fine, let's just get this war cabinet unified so we can get to war. Because they can't make war declarations without unity, right? Anyway, so now Netanyahu is in a place, a rock and a hard place, because at one time he has this issue about people, Orthodox being drafted or not. Then he has a party in Israel that doesn't want the justice overhaul. Then he has a party in Israel that says, you didn't do enough against Hamas. You should be doing much more. Then you have another group of upset protesters that are saying, ceasefire, bring the hostages home, ceasefire now. Then you have another group that say, well, you had information, you didn't act strong enough at that time. And so he's the face of the Likud party. Without him, Likud fails. No one's as respected as him in that party to be able to make coalitions. So I think regardless of the outcome of this war, and if he invades Rafah, all these things, right? After everything's said and done, his party is out. And he said time and time again that I'm the only one that's holding back Israel and Palestine from ever allowing Palestine to have a state. So I think this will be the end of the Likud party actually having any influence. And does that mean that it's completely left and is Palestine's going to be a state? No, there could be other more radical elements. There are people like Ben Gvir, who's an extreme radical. He was so radical that the IDF refused him. It said, you can't be part of the IDF. You're too radical, right? So there are people like this, but he's a criminal too, but he's part of the parliament. But again, parliament or advisor. But I'm saying there are elements like this, but more than likely Israel is shifting, or they're saying the people just not happy with the way things are going. They're also starting to realize that they can't keep doing what they're doing. And radical right-wing governments are not the answer. They're Zionists, don't get me wrong, they're still Zionists, but they have a different kind of Zionism. It's not the Zionism that, we just want to eradicate everybody. They were saying, okay, you know what, let's have a two-state solution. We build a giant wall, whatever, separate us, whatever, let them have a state, all right? Protect our own, whatever it is, but let them, it's not worth fighting this much, losing all this blood. And it's a very different kind of Zionism. And so I think that in the future, the Likud party looks very grim for them. I don't think that they're going to be in power for much longer.
Yeah.
And that could be a changing, yeah.
We have this guy who's also making the waves. For those who are not familiar with this doctor, his name is Craig Considine.
Craig Concubine?
Craig Concubine. AKA Snake in the Grass, that many of us have been saying for years now, but Muslim organizations across the country have loved this guy because he's a Christian who says a lot of nice things about Muslims.
He was the new Esposito.
He says a lot of nice things about you, so we have to invite him to everything. He says, but he won't become Muslim, but he says a lot of nice things about Islam. So I think...
Even he explains why Latinos are becoming Muslim. It's natural for them. Oh, yeah, we embrace it. We love it, right? All this crazy stuff, right? And the Muslims love it.
So he puts out a tweet. The pro-Hamas and anti-Israel encampments that protest on college campuses across the country are an abomination and a sign of a much deeper rot in American society. Make no mistake about it. Support for Hamas is support for authoritarianism. It is also a de facto support for Houthis and Hezbollah, which are backed by Iran, a theocratic government that props up Hamas and works with totalitarian Russia and communist China against USA and its allies. This is more than a battle between Israel and Hamas. It's a struggle between democracies and freedom against despotism and Islamicism. Apparently, many college students prefer the latter too. Basically, he's going on and on saying that the protesters are Hamas supporters, whereas these people are calling for a stop to the genocide. You don't have to be a Hamas supporter to be pro-Palestinian. But
he fell for it and shows his colors.
But this is how you're changing you're skewing.
You're framing the narrative.
You're framing the narrative into the way how Israel wants it to be.
Exactly.
You've effectively shown your colors to the entire Muslim landscape. And I swear to God, if any Muslim organization invites this guy again in the future, they'll be held to pay.
Hopefully they see this, and even if they do, then yeah, you're right. But I don't think a lot of times. How many views does this guy have on this?
He's
I know he's pretty popular. A lot of Muslims follow him.
Well, I say anyone that invites him is a baby killer.
I like it. Word.
Yeah.
well,
I mean, if you want to play that game, then you're a maniacal, genocidal baby killer. Simple as is. Simple put. You want to play the name game? We can play that all day long. First of all, you have no business commenting on Palestine and Israel.
Yeah.
Right? You don't. First of all, like, you don't live in. You know, it was crazy to me is that they would never tolerate someone speaking about black experiences.
Yeah.
Or
you're right.
Jewish experiences, right? But everybody feels like they have to talk about the Palestinian experience, except for the Palestinians themselves, right? Who made you the spokesperson of what's right and wrong in America? Isn't he Catholic, by the way?
I
think he's Catholic. Oh no, maybe that's that comedian guy that you brought. I think he's Catholic.
No, that's Jeremy McClellan.
He's Catholic, right? Yeah.
Catholic.
Anyways, point being is that I think he's Catholic, right? I could be wrong here, or maybe, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the world, like and Christianity in America is in shambles. You guys can't decide whether the LGBTQ is allowed or not, whether abortion's allowed or not, who's saved, who's not saved. Who on God's green earth gave you the authority to decide right and wrong? And again, speaking about democracy, right? Where's your democracy when you're talking about criminalizing criticism of Israel? Is that in line with your democracy? Is that Western values?
Where does he work? He works at university, right? So he probably.
Yeah, I can't remember. I thought it was Rice University. Let me check his.
In Ohio?
Probably,
oh yeah, it is Rice.
Roosevelt.
Yeah, in Ohio. Yeah.
Rice University. This guy, he was one of the most requested guests for us. Like, people who are, I guess, listeners of ours, they really like him and they wanted us to host him. But I always had like a suspicion with this guy.
Same.
I wasn't like Jeremy. I know, like, he's like, yeah, I like you guys, but I'm not going to become Muslim. Like, he's clear about that. You know, he's like, we're good, as cousins, and we'll make jokes about each other. But this guy, he's different. There's something different about him because he never. When you're saying all these nice things about the Prophet and why he's so exemplary, and you're not becoming Muslim, or you're not, well, like, okay, well then why are you here then? What exactly are you here to do? Because it'd be one thing, like, if you're a Christian and you're trying to talk about some common values that we share, right?
Yeah.
Or common beliefs that we share about something. But this guy, all he does is come and tells you about how great you are, and it is just, it was just
The dilemma
strange.
is, look, a lot of times Muslims, they don't want us to criticize him, and people like Karen Armstrong and people like Martin Lings and people what's his name, Esposito, who else was really Edward Said, is because, I mean, one of the people I was talking to right now, they said something that really made me think. They said that Greg Constantine said that he loves Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? So that's the reason why you have to be fair to him, or you should be nice. Look, a lot of the Mushrikeen in Mecca loved Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam before he claimed prophethood. Abu Talib loved Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There's a lot of people who loved Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? It doesn't mean that they were right in what their belief was, just because they loved him. Loving him, the prerequisite of getting the reward of loving Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is you have to be Muslim first. If you tell me you love Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that's cool. You're still not a Muslim to me.
By the way, you mentioned Martin Lings. He was Muslim.
I mean, they don't want to criticize him. Oh, sorry,
Martin Lings is Muslim.
Who was I meant to say? Sorry, I misspoke. I meant to say somebody else. Martin Lings he wrote the Sirah. Sorry. But nonetheless, a lot of times,
Karen Armstrong, those types.
yeah, no, there was somebody else too. I'll remember it, inshallah. Michael Hart.
Michael Hart.
Michael Hart.
The 100.
Yeah, yeah.
He turned out to be a white nationalist. You heard about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're all like touting this guy
He was-
why
he
he
was a
ranked
nothing.
the Prophet Muhammad as number one.
But then you see why he rated him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, he was able to militarily like take over everything.
No. He
Like,
had good reasons. And
He had
stuff.
good reasons.
It was
just
just funny. It's just funny that
Yeah.
you're using this guy who's completely delegitimizes himself later on.
No, there's some Muslims who believe that he converted.
But hold
it
on.
was
By the way,
incorrect.
saying that he loves Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is typical evangelical nonsense. They say they love everyone. We love Hamas too. We want them to be guided. God wants us to love our enemies. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. I
Yeah.
love Hitler. I love the devil.
Yeah,
it means
that's
nothing.
True, but this was a little different. Like
Why
he
is that
captive
different?
because the thing is that he got into the Muslim circles.
Yeah, but
He
I'm
made-
saying they
it
got
was-
into it because the argument they're making is saying, oh, he loves Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so we should embrace him.
No, you're right.
That's how he got
You're
tapped
right.
in. But I'm saying this is Christian theology.
Yeah, but the point here is just because somebody says that doesn't mean you get like all total loyal to this guy and start loving him and like that doesn't matter. And this proves it right here, right? That he fell in for the rhetoric. He's promoting Israel now. We can call him a pro-Israeli now. I mean, how would he like that, right? I mean, so it's ridiculous. And Muslims just because somebody's a non-Muslim, they're white. I mean, this guy was kind of
I'll be honest, bro. Listen, I don't know much about the guy, but I always trust my firasa.
Yeah,
And the
right.
minute I saw this guy's face, I knew this guy was something wrong with
First
this
of
guy.
all, he looked kind of like Jim Carrey.
I don't care about that. I mean,
No,
something,
but that made me think deeper.
Something about like just his persona, the way he talk. I'm like, this guy's not bad news. And alhamdulillah, Allah exposed him.
Yeah.
But
Don't
this
insult
is
Jim
a
Carrey, by the
lesson.
way.
This is a lesson, by the way, for Muslims that stop pedestaling people. Who cares what he thinks? Stop seeking validation from people that mean nothing.
Yeah.
They have no bearing on whether you're Muslim or you're non-Muslim. If they want to say nice things, great, thank you. Say thank you and, wave the hand. Okay, cool, man. Appreciate it, but that's about it. I don't need to invite you and
We gotta
give you...
get him. We gotta
yeah,
get
yeah.
him.
Oh, let's please make him a Muslim. I don't
Ikna.
care. Yeah, I don't care. Like, it's not relevant. These people don't do anything for Islam. They don't do anything for Muslims. You understand my point?
He loved it. He loved it. He felt like he conquered Muslims, bro.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that Muslims have this problem where, like, it's this inferiority complex.
Yeah.
And we talk about this. A celebrity becomes Muslim. Oh, let's get him into the dawah. Let's go interview him everywhere. Let him lead the message. Like, well, dude, the guy just became a Muslim. He hasn't proved nothing about anything. Like, who cares? Actually, isn't that what Islam is about? Like, hey, we're all equal. Like, the people that are better than this guy are people who have taqwa, who actually are scholars, who put work into it, right? I'm not saying don't appreciate it. What I'm saying is don't pedestal them. Don't put them on this.
Unfortunately, people are designed in a way to do hero worship. Sneeko becomes Muslim. Everyone's inviting him on his show, rubbing elbows with him. Oh, we'll share our viewerships together. What's it called? Collaborations and all that stuff happen. And alhamdulillah, like, we're against that kind of nonsense. We don't care. I mean, it's great that Sneeko and Andrew Tate and what's his name, the brother who just
player?
no the guy who just became Muslim, the black BLM guy, dude.
Oh, Sean King?
Sean King, he became Muslim. Everyone's like jumping. I'm happy too. It's great. I shared it myself. I shared it on my feed. Alhamdulillah. But the idea that masjids all across the country are inviting him left and right, I'm like, hey, whether it's Andrew Tate or Sean King, just give him a minute, dude.
Yeah, I see.
Like, let him learn about the religion and feel it. I'm sure he's spent quite a bit of time already learning about it. I'm not sidelining him. I'm just saying, hey, just give it a pause. Like, should be a moment. It's a huge moment in your life. Just digest it.
Let it marinate.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. When you take on the responsibility of a Muslim, of saying that I'm going to be a Muslim, it's like a huge weight on your shoulder that you've taken on. It's not easy.
To be honest, it's a disservice. You're going to force them to burn out.
No, that's what happens to a lot of people. A lot
Yeah,
of converts.
because they cannot
They put
deal
them in
with
high
that.
places in the masjid.
Right.
I've talked
It's
to converts
already
about
a
this.
change, a lifestyle change. Eyes are on them. The pressure is there, right? Like, usually a person who wants to become a Muslim, they're becoming a Muslim because they need it. They have bad habits. They have bad thoughts. They have, generally speaking, like they have to reform themselves. Islam is that reformation. How do you get them to speak and to, how do you put them in the spotlight when they're in that need of reformation? Give them time to reform their behavior, their mentality, their actions, and then as they progress, they will come to you and tell you, hey, look, I want to share my experience. Right? They will come to you. You don't have to push them up. Like, half of these people will say things, and it's funny because what happens is they'll say things that are totally un-Islamic about the religion, and people give it a pass. Oh, he's new, don't worry about it, and they never correct him because he's always going to be new, right? He's always going to be new to them, right? And then they grow up thinking, or progressing in Islam, thinking that what they were thinking was okay, because everybody's intimidated and scared of correcting them because A, he's a public figure, B, they don't want to offend him, right? And they're giving him the excuse, or her. So allow them to grow. Sit with, if you truly want to help someone who's come to Islam, refer them to sit with scholars and people who have knowledge and let them learn from them. The idea is when you become a Muslim, you realize that you didn't have everything figured out, that you have to humble. It requires humbleness.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Humility.
soul surfing.
Humility.
Soul searching.
Yeah.
Too much soul searching after that. Give us some time. But anyways.
What else we got on the plate, boys? Next week we have a great show lined up for you guys with Ottoman historian Dr. Yaqub Ahmad, who's visiting us again. He's got a class going on as well. I'll throw it in the episode description where he's teaching Ottoman history. It's a small fee. I really hope that you guys look into that. And he's going to be in town.
The podcast is on Saturday, right?
Yep, Saturday.
On the 11th?
Our buddy Harrison Elif, he's going to be visiting us as well.
Harry!
And Mort's going to be out of town, so he's going to be missing that episode as well.
That's on the 12th, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So
beautiful.
Looking forward to that. I know many of you guys love Harry. He's got a very charming personality. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
He's
from Indonesia.
former Gulf War vet who got an IED blown up on him, and he hated Islam and Muslims, and he liked people like David Wood. He talked about it on a previous show with us. Said he was a big fan of David Wood, and see how Allah just brings people to Islam. I'm so excited for that show as well. That's gonna be on Wednesday.
Sorry, Harry. I wish I could be here, but
next Wednesday. That one's next Wednesday.
Can't be here, Harry.
Sorry, I said Sunday.
Oh wait, is Harry gonna be here Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Oh, next Wednesday.
On the 8th.
On the 8th. I'm not gonna be here. Sorry, Harry.
And Yaqub is going to be here on the 11th at 2 p.m., right? Wow. CST, Central Standard Time. All right. I think we're good, boys.
What else you guys got? There's that one. I just shared this with the listeners as we will wind down the show.
Jannat and Tadri?
It's right here. This is, the boys shared this with me. It gave me a laugh.
This is one of my favorites for the whole week.
أيها المسافرون نتمنى لكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار.
For those of you guys are watching on the on the audio, it's the landing gear of the plane is going broken.
So he's saying the lady what do they call the
flight attendant?
The flight attendant is saying, أيها المسافرون, all you travelers, we wish you جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار. We wish for you, gardens under which rivers flow, because of what's about to happen. He sees the tire flying off with it lighting on fire, but the accent is just beautiful. It's like an American accent saying Arabic. نتمنى لكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار. That's my favorite part of the whole clip. It's beautiful, man. Listen to it, watch it with your family, and have fun, bro.
It would have been better if it was يا أيها الكافرون, but
أيها الكافرون قل يا أيها الكافرون.
Oh, this was a good one too. That I don't know if you guys saw the shabab in.
Oh, there's a shabab right there.
So
snap!
They took over. Columbia students, the Shababis, took over Hamilton Hall, and they named it Hind Hall.
Is liberated in honor
A 6-year-old
6-year-old
Palestinian child
Palestinian child
murdered
murdered
in Gaza
in Gaza
I didn't even pronounce Gaza right.
by the Israeli
occupation forces
occupation forces
funded
funded
by Columbia University.
by Columbia
This is
University.
deep, bro.
This is
That's
insane.
Oh, Sim,
Shame.
there's one more thing I
Wow.
wanted you to play, and I think it's promising. It's a bit of good news. I'm gonna send it to you right now. Just please cue this before we.
For those, you guys know who Hind is, right?
Yeah. Hold on.
It's just- yeah. That,
Can can you just play this real quick? It's coming out of Egypt, in the Parliament of Egypt, and I think it shows that there's still some goodness in among these people, among the ummah.
احنا ما بقتش تفرق معانا الحياه
You have to
والموت
put the
كلنا
subtitles.
مشاريع شهداء من اجل فلسطين ومن اجل مصر لكن
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
الشعب المصري مولع احنا مولعين احنا مش طايقين اللي بيحصل احنا ما بقتش تفرق معانا الحياه والموت كلنا مشاريع شهداء من اجل فلسطين ومن اجل مصر لكن في اداره الازمه تعالوا جمد العلاقات استدعي السفير واطرد هذا الكلب خارج مصر خد اجراءات عمليه احنا وراك احنا وراك يا ريس احنا وراك ودي قضيه حياه وموت بالنسبه لنا من اجل مصر مستعدين كلنا نموت ان شعار ما اخذ بقوه لا يسترد الا بقوه هو الشعار الصحيح هؤلاء مجرمين هؤلاء قتل.
All right. So he's basically chanting a lot of stuff that.
One quick question:
ahead.
What's happening with? I didn't get a chance to read too much on Turkey up until this last point. Do any of you guys? You don't have to like
About them joining the South Africa thing
Criminal court.
against Israel at the ICJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, about time. Fine, you did
No,
it.
but this.
Wow. You
But
did-
what's step now?
No, some good-
Is there anything else that came out of that?
just because what's the word?
As far as public opinion
Bro,
of
I mean,
Turkish people.
look, his Erdogan's party, the AKP,
Yeah.
is under fire by people who support Islam, who support Palestine, and they have Islamic sentiment, and they're like, "Where the hell? You guys haven't done anything.
Yeah.
You have done nothing."
So that's still where.
And
they stand,
so this is just.
But there also
that-
is, though,
that
I mean, a
they're
glimmer
doing.
of hope coming out of Saudi where they're saying that, hey, listen, in order for any normalization they're pushing them onto, we need to see some progress for Palestine. Now, how what that means for them, I don't know, but the idea that it's still something that, whether they want to do it or not, they at least recognize that it's important to
Yeah.
people. They cannot make that without at least acknowledging that Palestine is important. Of course, I'm not absolving them of inactivity or anything, but I'm saying it's gotten to a point where it's hard to mention anything about Israel without demanding something for Palestine. It just seems insane not to do it.
One of the things that people are learning as well is the Israeli non-negotiation that happens. What do I mean by that? They give terms for a peace agreement that are garbage.
Yeah.
And this is historically how they've operated. They will give you a peace offering that's incredibly lopsided in their favor. No sane person should ever accept that deal that they're
Like
offering.
the Oslo Accord.
Or the Oslo Accords or
Camp David.
Every accord there is,
Yeah.
you know, every single peace offering that they supposedly call peace offering, it's ridiculously stupid. Like Palestinians themselves would be like, "What the hell are you doing?" to their own leaders. Like, why are you accepting this? You know, and this is why they're offering that 40-day grace period where they said we're not going to attack you. Give us the only leverage we have that you have on us, and for 40 days we won't attack you.
Oh, and by the way, since I know we're gonna wrap up, but I wanted to mention this and just my 2 cents on this. First of all, people don't know this, but a week ago, Hamas offered a deal to Israel saying, "We are willing to lay down our weapons, agree to a 5-year truce, become only a political wing, and give back all the hostages, if we can go back to the 67 borders and establish a Palestinian state." It doesn't get more clear than that. They're willing to throw down weapons, right? They offered this to them. Now, Netanyahu obviously doesn't want to accept it. He wants to just say, "Oh, we want to punish you," but the media doesn't talk about this. The media doesn't say anything at all. But when it comes to the deal that Israel is offering, I say Hamas should reject it. Why? Because Netanyahu is facing pressure to get this done. America is pressuring him. They wanted to get a deal done before meeting Blinken in Egypt, right? They need to get this thing done. And you have leverage with the hostages, right? Because the measure of success for Netanyahu is two things: destroying all of Hamas, and number two, bringing back the hostages. He hasn't done any one of those two. Right now, from a mission perspective, he's failing.
Oh, you don't know that out of all the people who are dead, 13,000 were Hamas fighters?
Even then, Hamas is still existing, though. They haven't eradicated
It's ridiculous.
them. Yeah, but
there's
anyways,
no way of them
the
actually
point
knowing.
being is that...
Why do you have to invade Rafah then?
Yeah.
No, I know. That's what I'm
No,
saying. There's no way of them even knowing the 13,000.
The point being, though,
because they don't put a record out of anything.
The point being is that Hamas should push for a deal in which a Palestinian state is created and accept nothing less. Because what more can they do now? Besides going, they already mentioned they're going to Rafah. What more can they do now, right? I mean, if they do anything more, it's going to make them look like even worse in front of the media. America is going to pressure them even more. The world is on the brink. Already all the UN voted against them, right? The ICJ or ICC is already bringing court cases against Netanyahu. Like his parties in shambles. Exhibit pressure on them. I mean, if there hasn't been a better time than now to actually demand a state. You have what you need. You have a lot of momentum. Don't let it up. Like, because doing a truce is what? Okay, you give them back. 90 days go by or whatever. Back to the same thing. If they invade, they push them into the Sinai. 8 months later, you know what, Egypt? We think Hamas is cultivating in the Sinai and planning stuff. We need to go preemptively. We're going to go into the Sinai and kill them there too. You know, it goes on and on and on. So I think Hamas should reject it and say, no, listen, we gave you a good deal. 67 borders. We're dropping our weapons. We're going to be a strictly political group. Exchanging the hostages. And 5 years of truce from our side. Right? And I think obviously they can tweak it and say, okay, you can bring international observers and blah, 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 blah. But the fact that I think the Palestinian state needs to be on the table. There should be no deal without accepting a state.
But Mort, I mean, I know you're optimistic. That's awesome.
I'm not optimistic. I'm saying it should be what they should do.
It should, what should they do?
Listen,
I think they should.
Regardless if it happens or not, but that should be because what I'm saying is there's no other option for them to accept.
No, I understand that.
Right. So they shouldn't change. They should never accept this deal. Regardless of whether Israel's going to do it or not, or America's going to do it, is that my point? It's irrelevant. My point is that it'll show the world that Hamas wants a state. They want a state, a political state. They're willing to put down their weapons. They're willing to give the hostages. They're willing to have truce for more than what Israel offered. They offered 40 days. Hamas is offering 5 years. Right? So it shows it's building the narrative. This is not a fight you're going to win over in one day. It's about step by step. Remember I told you 10 years ago they couldn't get a single vote for Palestine to have a state. Today there's only one country voting against it. America. Every other country supporting it. It's piece by piece. But you have to... This is what one thing Muslims are bad at. Is controlling the narrative. Presenting the optics. The optics of Hamas saying, we are going to adhere to 67 borders. Drop weapons. Give hostages. Have a truce for 5 years. That's powerful.
Declaration. It's a big declaration.
It's powerful. It shows you, well, okay, the ball is in your court now. What are you doing, genocidal Netanyahu? Are you going to actually accept this now and have peace for both of us? Or are you going to be petty about it and genocide another 100,000 people? It literally shames them. And that's why I think Hamas should offer nothing less besides what they offered in the beginning. A state with there has to be, no deal can be made without a requirement of a state.
All
Yep.
right.
Yeah, I think that's it. Someone in the chat, got to give a shout out to Shafiq, I think his name is. He pointed out this important piece of crap. Well, this piece of crap, Modi, the Prime Minister of India, said, He called on. Let me find the exact language, but he basically said that people who are kind of like a fifth column in the country, he's referring to Muslims as people who are outbreeding us. And the idea that there's a huge part of that country that supports this guy who's being invited to all across the Middle East.
He just inaugurated a temple in the UAE.
Yeah.
Establishing temples in Muslim lands.
A'udhu billah.
And he's calling on effectively the eradication of Muslims in India.
Yeah. Imagine the shame that you don't have when, no shame, when you invite this dude, you know he's doing that, and you call him. Remember what the UAE Minister of Affairs was saying, the Minister of Tourism, we welcome such a peaceful people, we welcome you, we know your values, and that crap that he was spewing. I was like, what the hell is going on, man?
Do you think he goes to India and goes, no, sir, I'm just joking on TV. I don't really mean it. It's just for a vote.
It's all
It's
about
just for
money.
the vote. It's just for the
all
vote,
about-
yaar.
Dude, you know how people literally they say something, but when they go to their own closed quarters, they have an understanding and culture because there's money involved. That's all there is.
Just kidding.
All money. They don't care about that, bro. They're like,
Yeah,
bringing
but I
money
mean-
to us. They have all these
I
workers
mean,
over here.
The reality is,
They
is
have
that
agency now.
the reality is that radical Hindutvas are batshit crazy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's what they are.
It
They're
is.
literally insane people who want to murder anyone who's not Hindu and their type of Hindu, right? And the reality is that
So
this is what we talk about when we say that these values that America claims to represent in the world. We have allies and partners who believe in democratic values and all this stuff. These are the democracies you're talking about.
Biggest democracy in the world, India. is
They
supposed to be.
claim we have to support India because it's a big democracy in the world. It's a competitor to China, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're gonna pull something up.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi increased device. This is by the way, the Financial Times. Increased divisive rhetoric on the election campaign, deploying some of the most extreme language of his decade in power to attack opponents and mobilize Hindu voters as his party seeks a third historic term. In a series of rallies since India's general election began on April 19th, Modi has referred to the country's Muslim minority as infiltrators, likened his BJP arch-rival Indian National Congress to the historic pro-Pakistan Muslim League, and accused Congress of seeking to loot wealth from Hindus and redistribute it to Muslims. Congress wants to take part of the rights of lower caste Hindus and give it to their vote bank, Modi told a campaign rally in Goa on Saturday. And you know who's Congress's favorite vote bank? He added, a thinly veiled reference to Muslims. The same day, Anurag Thakur, the BJP information minister, told another rally that Congress wants to give you your children's property to Muslims. Modi's escalation of inflammatory rhetoric comes as the BJP is looking to drum up support among Hindus, who make up 80% of the population, to win a supermajority and cement its dominance of national politics. The BJP has set a target of 370 of the 543 parliamentary seats on the offer, up from 303 it won in 2019. It keeps going on, but basically, the rhetoric is being enhanced and amplified as the elections move forward in India. And again, Muslims find themselves with the target on their back, and they seem like they're kind of like a piñata for pretty much any party across the world, any nationalist party. Like, hey, the Muslims are going to take over your country. You sure you want this other party to be in power? And then the other party has to do things like, oh, well, okay, we'll ban this one Muslim group in our country, and hopefully make the nationalists happy, even though it's like basically what they did with HT in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically pacifying the nationalists, like Tommy Robinson and that whole camp in the UK. And similar things are happening all across Europe and and different countries all across the world where you're having to do things on behalf of a crazy voter base, which you kind of made and you've stoked the fires of, and now you're kind of becoming enslaved to it too. You know, and all while you go to Muslim countries and shake their hands and beg for their money and their investments and ask for your labor force to go to
ties.
Yeah. And then they're
getting Hindus property in Muslim countries, getting, the UAE to have their own types of control in the Indian subcontinent. It's a crazy world, man. It's just, we just don't have people that have any ghira. They have no protectiveness over their fellow Muslims. It's all about the money, That's why this whole thing is, there's so many, the signs of, all the small signs of Day of Judgment have taken place, basically. And from amongst those, secondary signs is the Muslims finding wealth. Like Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, in hadith mentions that Rasulullah said that Muslims will find wealth even when they leave their homes and return with more wealth. It's talking about Muslims in general. Obviously, from the hadith of Jibreel of Muslims competing, not just average Muslims. They're the Muslims that were a specific class of, barefoot, disheveled, ripped clothing, barely enough to cover themselves, competing in building, high towers and high buildings. And then those people who are being killed and they don't know why they're being killed, and those who kill who don't know why they're killing, right? All of those are happening all in that region. And then you have these Muslim leaders that are shaking hands with these people. The signs are right in front of them. Yeah. The signs actually happen to be in their land. When building the tall building, forget about the clock tower. And when that clock tower was built, I was like, wow, this hadith was basically in that area. And it's literally coming so true. It's exactly where Muhammad ﷺ was speaking to these people about building tall buildings, and the clock tower is right there overshadowing the Kaaba, right? It's just crazy. Like, all the signs are right in front of you. How much ghafla, how far do you have to be away from understanding that Allah and Rasulullah are the objective truths to completely neglect that and just carry on? You know what I'm saying?
Insane.
It's insane. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of all of us. Allah protect us, man, for never becoming like these treacherous traitors that we have as our rulers, man.
I mean, that's our show for this evening, folks. Make sure you hit the like button, throw a comment in the comment section below if you haven't done so already. Be sure to tune in next week for some special episodes with Brother Harrison, who's going to be coming into town on Wednesday, and Dr. Help me out.
Yaqub.
Dr. Yaqub Ahmed. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.